What's up, everyone? This is Frugal Panda here with a initial review and unboxing of the Velowave Spirit Rad 3 electric road bike. This is a sponsored video. I received this bike in the mail. Once I ordered it, it came like it's the fastest I've ever seen an electric bike come in the mail. I got this bike in, I'd say, 4 days, counting the weekend. I want to say it was like that. This bike right here is what you call a road bike. So it has the thinner tires, all that good stuff. The box it came in, very well packaged. It had suggested minimum leg length. It came with all the tools you need, which I always like when I get an electric bike. Now I have so many tools from all the electric bikes I've had in regards to fixing them and always having a set of everything I need for the bike right with it while I'm out riding. Now, the packaging, like I said, it was very well packaged. I really was pleasantly surprised. It was packaged better than I would say my electric XP easily. Much better than it. The box itself didn't even weigh that much. I was like, uh-oh, this bike's got to be really light. So when I dragged it in the house, really just picked it up and brought it in, I was like, oh, this has got to be a light bike. So this bike right here actually weighs 37.5 pounds, and I believe it. This bike is light, like it's really light. I'm not used to that for an e-bike. So to give you, just to put in perspective, each of the Rad Power, Rad Mini, and the Electric XP both weigh 60-some pounds. I think that Rad Power Mini weighs about 67. So this bike weighs 30 pounds less than the Rad Mini. Granted, they're different bikes, of course, but I'm just not used to having an actual electric bike that doesn't hardly weigh anything. So the bike itself, putting it together, I recommend you just take your time. There's no reason to fly through it. Just do it right the first time, get everything together. Also, make sure I didn't do till afterwards. You'll see later in the video. Before you put the rim on and everything, take some alcohol and wipe around the brakes. I always do that. It cuts down on squeaks, and you don't have to really adjust the brakes as much like you do if you don't like put a little alcohol and get a little bit of the residue left that's always left on them when you get the bikes. Every bike I ever got always has that squeak, and so I use like rubbing alcohol on it. So I'm showing you right here. You're seeing everything it comes with. Look at the charger. The charger is tiny. It's got a tiny little charger. I was like, wow, that's cool. I'm used to these big old bricks. Now look at the packaging, how it was. Well done. Be careful cutting the zip ties off these, especially around tires. Take your time. You don't want to puncture your tire before you even get to ride a bike. So just take your time. You can see me talking in the video, but the reality of it is I'm just going to voice over just because sometimes when I've done that, later on, I've realized the voice quality has degraded and you can't even hear me. So a voiceover is much better. Look at the tires. Thin tires. It's a road bike, made for that, made to be lightweight and more for distance and all that good stuff. Real quick also, if you use my discount code, which is Frugal Panda, it'll be in the description too, you will get $100 off this bike. And this bike, depending on if it's on sale, will range between $7.99 and $8.99. Which I believe is a pretty good value on this bike, actually. Now, you got your pedals, your handlebars, and your wheel to put on. That's the main parts to put on. You have all the tools for it. The battery itself is inside the frame of the bike. So the battery itself is in the frame, so you do not see the battery on this bike, which I really, really, really like about this bike. You know, I think that's really cool and something I'm not used to having or being accustomed to in regards to utilizing a bike. There's the basic parts. You got a wheel, you got your seat, and you don't see in the picture your pedals, and then you got to put on your handlebars. Like as I said before, well packaged. Looking at the frame itself, the frame looks really good on this bike. I was really impressed on the quality of the frame and just how it really looks. Of course, you need to put your deflectors on, as you can see, which I didn't do till later. I was so excited to get it together and ride this bike. Now, the bike itself is 36 watts of power, 36.4 watts of power coming from Samsung cells. So it has Samsung cells in the battery itself, which I said earlier was in the frame. And it also has a 250-watt motor. See the charging port right there. You saw how big the actual charger itself was. It's a small little charger, but it's also a 36-watt battery, so don't need a huge brick for it. Putting it together, relatively easy. I started with the seat. Honestly, I probably should have started with the actual wheel. Because you put the wheel on, guess what? Then you can put it on the kickstand. But of course, I went for what I thought was the easiest thing in the beginning. So install the pedals. Make sure you put them the right way. Left, they're labeled left and right. So put them on the right side the first time. And take your time. If you feel any resistance immediately when you do it, slow down and redo it again, because you don't want to strip it out, because you got it in there wrong. Now, with that being said, I had to look over the instruction book real quick, and then I got everything together. I got everything together in regards to the pedals, and now taking my time on the front wheel, putting everything together, make sure you tighten it correctly. Putting on the handlebars, make sure you tighten up everything. And once you're done putting this bike or any e-bike together, any bike you buy that's already assembled, go through it and make sure the bolts are all tight. I've done it with every brand I've owned just to make sure that I got the bolts right. You want to make sure you got different bolts on the handlebars. You got your front ones. There are 4 of them. You got one on top that needs to be tightened. And there's, I think, 2 more on the side, I believe, that make sure you tighten those up so your handlebars are good, tight, and straight also. So you want to make sure of that. So it took me a minute, but honestly, I still think altogether maybe I spent 30, maybe 40 minutes putting the bike together. And most of the bike I put together was without the instructions. You see those 2 bolts on the side and the one on top, make sure they're all tight and that the wheel and the wheel and the handlebars are straight and line up correctly. Just make sure everything's tightened. As you can look, there's that Bafang 250 motor right there. Looks really good. Like I said, the frame itself is very nice looking. The paint is really nice on this bike. Good thick paint. You can see your levels of assist right there, which are really cool. You have 3 levels of assist. You got technically 4. You got 0, which is no assist. You got 1, 2, and 3. The max speed on this bike is 15 miles an hour. It should get around 30 miles of range. The Shimano gearing right there, which is really cool. The bike itself also with 30 miles of range. If you were to run out of juice on this bike, because of its weight and its style, you could ride this like a regular bike, no joke. Like I got hopped on it and rode it, and I was like, this is an easy bike to ride. I literally would not even have range anxiety because I could I could just ride it like a regular bike until I got home or wherever I was from. You can see where you can put, it already has the little bolts on it for you to put your water bottle attachment, which is really cool. I think this bike looks really good. Disc brakes, paint quality, the weight on it is awesome. Riding it also, the motor is really quiet. Now, mind you, it's a 250-watt motor, so it's not going to be screaming at you like an electric XP or something like that. So you could literally ride this bike, and probably most people wouldn't even know this was an electric bike, which is really cool. And the good thing about it too, depending on your weight, is your level of you can even get more of exercise. So on this bike, I would of course get more exercise than say on my Rad Mini or the Rad Power. Also on this bike, I wouldn't worry about running out of juice, because if I did, I'm just riding a bike. So that's really cool. Also, like I said, put alcohol on your brakes. It cut down on the squeaks. I had to do it every bike I've ever owned. Start out with putting alcohol on them. And like I said, I rode it on this day. This is part 1. I will not do a real road test like with my GoPro until it's nice out. I like to do my bikes justice, and when I do the actual reviews, and do it on a nice day, not some overcast day like this. But riding it felt really good. I think this is a really good looking bike right here. And like I said before, super surprised by how little it weighs, to be able to pick it up with one arm and take it up steps and put it in my house like a regular bike, like my regular bikes. That's what I keep saying. I'm 6 foot tall. So, and the actual seat itself is maybe 2 or 3 inches from the minimum on the bike with me on it right now. And I fit fine, no issues. Again, the charging port underneath it, on top of it, excuse me, with the battery access actually underneath right there, as I showed earlier. So that's really cool. It's supposed to be waterproof. It has waterproofing on the cables and all that good stuff. I would guess with any of these bikes, water resistant, of course, is what it's more like with any of them. But then again, I don't know if they could be. So we'll leave it at that. But like I would do with any e-bike I ever owned, I wouldn't exactly take them through water over the motor and all that stuff. It's just not a wise decision to do with any e-bike. I don't care who makes them. Seat itself, good and sturdy. Like I said, the bike feels really, really sturdy. $7.99 to $8.99 depending on the sale. Use my code, get $1 off. $1 off. Get $100 off using my special code. I'm glad I got this bike in the mail and it will get used. And for its size, I really like it can go on a bike carrier. That's a big deal to me. I can actually put this on a bike carrier and haul it. That's very important. You saw my little son riding. He's 5'7". He rode it no problem. Anyway, you see the size comparison with other bikes too. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate everyone. And once again, this is the Velowave Spirit Rad 3 road bike, electric bike. Anyway, thanks for watching. And this is Frugal Panda out, everyone.